Okay, so it seems like recently there's been some updates on the whole Himomalu situation and everything to do with Sykkuno, and again, it's been a pretty crazy one. Now, essentially, if you guys remember in the last video, kind of going into the actual, like doc and all of the kind of voice notes and stuff, people were bringing up one clip of Himomalu actually talking about the fact of, giving Sykkuno a second chance within the actual voice call and all of this kind of stuff. Which of course people have been using against her. Now, of course, it didn't sound very good of, with all the cheating and stuff that she knew was going on, and saying like, it's not me being cheated on, I could always give you a second chance, this kind of stuff. It did sound, not so great. But again, of course, they actually, ended up responding to it, and we covered all of that in the last video. So if you guys want to go look at that, I definitely recommend doing it. But yeah, essentially she's come up with this other follow-up though, saying to anyone who wants to claim that I wanted to get back with him, here's us also agreeing to just stay friends since he didn't give me the consistency I needed. When I say I wanted something long-term and something committed, I meant that. I was giving him a second chance as my friend, but I can't be friends with someone who clearly doesn't learn from his actions. With this, I'm moving on with my life now, and we'll go back to posting as normal. Don't forget to be kind to people. And obviously, they put this here saying, this is a tweet thread, not tweet thread, a Discord thread with saying, yeah, I understand that. Maybe it'll change a little bit, but let's just be regular friends. And if we want to hang out more and it grows into more, then let's do that. If you feel like you're ready, it's the same with other things, like I want to feel ready to reciprocate the same feelings. And right now, I'm not, so it feels unfair to you. Well, you take all the time you need for that. I've always told you to do what you feel comfy with. But I never expected anything from you or needed it from you. I was here because I wanted to simply be. If you wanted that as just friends, then that's okay too. It might take a little, some time for me to get a little over, because obviously I still have feelings for you. But if that's what you want, I just want you to do what you want and need. So again, obviously that was the message thread. That's on the 27th of March. So not even 2 weeks ago. Over 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe even. So of course. Yeah, people have been discussing that one, and essentially, yeah, they're saying that, they were trying to be friends before all of this call and everything that went on, and essentially she wanted to, in the terms of the second chance, I think this is what they're trying to say. They didn't say it very clearly. I think what they're trying to say is, in terms of the second chance, she didn't mean as like someone in like, kind of romantic relationship, as in like a friend, right? Because apparently they became friends just before, or whatever, or whatever she's trying to say there. And obviously people say, in no way should you stay friends and give second chances to a person you expose for being straight up an asshole. At this point, you're fishing for views or just desperate for money. Girl, bye. And then she says, use your brain and think that maybe this document was written after all of the things that are in the document, which, yeah, I mean, it seems like, a lot of this stuff is also down to time frames, which tends to be something that gets confused a little bit in a lot of dramas like this, right? I'm saying that doesn't matter. The fact that you still didn't even bother to block him and still consider to stay friends if he actually tries to change is absolutely disgusting, coming from a girl nonetheless. Obviously saying, so if he gave you that consistency, you'd want him back as more than a friend, knowing he's a cheater? And she said, look at the dates. This was before I found that he even had a girlfriend. So again, that's just to clarify that, essentially this was before she knew that the cheating was going on, right? And I don't think she did a very good job at kind of explaining that and, showing that, because again, I think people just can't read maybe. And I mean, she didn't really put it in the first bit, saying that, essentially this was before she found out any of this was going on. And, afterwards, she then obviously had that call with him, and, they found out that he's cheating on his girlfriend, right? People say, girls stand up, said, I've been stood, that's why the doc is out. And I do think it's one of these cases where obviously it seems like what essentially happened before this Google Doc came out, before this call came out, and all this kind of stuff, she was kind of like 50-50 after finding the information out, right? And I think that is, it's understandable considering, she's had quite a long, when I say long, quite a, intricate relationship with him. And, sometimes it can end up getting a little bit too much. And hearing news like, he's been cheating on his 7-year girlfriend or whatever, with you and a ton of other people, was, would be quite surprising, right? And sometimes people don't want to believe it, but I think that the fact that the Google Doc is out now and that she is actually, willing to talk about it, especially so soon after this, right? The fact is, right, it's been about 2 weeks, right, since this message came out, not even the call came out. So it seems that she decided to take action pretty quickly, rather than leaving it in the banker like some people like to do and waiting like years and then coming out with it years later. And obviously you had the whole like response of like, why did you wait this long? So I'm actually I'm glad that she, came out of it so quickly and came out of it as soon as possible, because it seems like maybe, that cool and all of that kind of stuff was the final straw for her, right? And I think that maybe some people don't understand that, and I think that's fine. But of course, people are going to have different opinions. But there's also been other people that have come out about this, which I also wanted to talk about as well, including Suko here, who is also a pretty big VTuber. Obviously, they got 53,000 followers. So again, they're not just some like random account with 300 followers that has nothing to lose. They have a reputation on the line here, right? When talking about this kind of stuff, and they say Sykkuno disrespected my physical boundaries and clearly has a disregard for consent in general. He's one of the most powerful men in streaming, that he used that power to take advantage of women who thought they could trust him. I was still a teenager when he targeted me. So again, claiming that they had been targeted by him and that he had disrespected their physical boundaries and had a disregard for consent, which obviously is not good whatsoever. Now, a lot of people have been discussing the whole teenager part here. Obviously, teenager could mean a lot of things. It could mean, obviously 13, or it could mean 19, right? And obviously, those are two completely different things. So again, I think a lot of people have been kind of discussing that, and whether, being a little bit more clearer on exactly what age you were when this happened could really, because again, it does make it look really, really, really bad if, you say teenager, right? And of course, if you were 19, it's less of a big deal as if you were 15, right? Of course, a lot of these stuff before that, though, is still very bad, right? Not to kind of downplay a lot of this stuff, like the physical boundaries, disregard for consent, of course. I think that is still terrible, and he still has done wrong within this situation that you claim here. But I do think, of course, just saying I was still a teenager without specifying how old a teenager is, I think, of course, because it makes it into a completely different situation if you say that you were underage whenever this happened, right? So again, that's why some people are a little bit confused about that. But people have been saying, I'm so sorry this happened to you, Suko. You deserve so much better. It really sucks that you had to be silent for so long about it. I'm so proud of you for being able to speak up about it now. Take care of yourselves. They're disgusting. I'm so sorry. That I'm sorry. That's a very serious thing to say without showing any proof. Even if this is true, you saying it without having any proof of what you're accusing him of, plus he having a lot of money, can land you in a really bad situation if he decides to sue. Be careful. And obviously that is true, right? There isn't any proof that is shown here, which is, I guess, why people are a little bit more speculative about it, because again, usually if you want an open and shut case for this kind of stuff, you're going to have to show some kind of proof, whether it's messages, whether it's a voice call, whether it's video footage or whatever. People are going to want to see it because it's going to back up your point, right? But of course, this is just a claim on Twitter in text. And of course, yeah, Sykkuno could very well take action against it if it wasn't true, right? So she's got to be careful in how, they can actually really, I guess, express that. And, in not getting sued and stuff like that as well in the future, right? People have been discussing this as well in the Kurosanji subreddit, saying Suko accuses Sykkuno of targeting her while underage. Now, that isn't necessarily true. The person who's written this Reddit post, it says while underage, we don't know. Obviously, it just says a teenager, which they haven't really specified there, which again, obviously, it hasn't really been further followed up on in the comments either, which some people have been kind of talking about. So again, people said, take note how all of these people use words like teenager to muddy the waters and make it seem worse than it was. How old? 19, 18, 13? She was an adult, because otherwise she would say the actual age. Also, no proof, no evidence of it, not even any evidence they were in the same room, which of course, I think it's fair enough to be skeptical about what is going on, right? And I do think that, yeah, this kind of usage of the word teenager without specifying how old you were, especially in such a serious allegation like this, you kind of got to tell us, right? Because of course people are just going to assume you're an adult, or no, sorry, people are going to assume you weren't an adult. But obviously, people who are kind of thinking about it a little bit more might assume that you were just an adult and are just trying to muddy the waters, as they said, which of course can be an issue, especially whenever it comes to trying to actually make a serious claim, if that is the case, right? Saying, why not specifically say underage instead of teenager, as technically 18 and 19 are considered titles underage, but Suko did not, said because they weren't. which obviously says, yeah, this guy is a major ass, no walking red flag, but it feels like everyone on Twitter is trying to make him out as a criminal while avoiding the defamation of character proof that he could sue with. He's gross, but everyone was a legal consenting adult. But doing stuff like this is gross as well, minimizing actual underage illegally groomed people, right? And of course, 100% true, right? Saying teenager as in minor or 18, 19. Obviously, they said 18 plus. They use deceptive wording on purpose, and it's obvious. I'm not defending this creep, by the way, but criminal versus asshole is a different canyon of difference. And yeah, that's what I mean whenever I said that, like, you know, depending on what age they're talking about here is what kind of really changes the term of what is going on with Sykkuno, right? Because he's gone from being someone, yeah, who is essentially an asshole who cheated on his wife with a bunch of, you know, multiple people who technically, you know, hasn't committed a crime or anything like that, to now, obviously, if they did come out and say that they were like 15 or 13 or whatever, right, then of course he would then be committing a crime, right? And that obviously changes the situation quite a bit, because that's when, you know, police and stuff got to get involved, right? And it's a little bit different from just random Twitter, you know, stuff that is going on. So again, I mean, that is essentially what a lot of people have been talking about in regards to this situation. So I just kind of want to keep you guys up to date. And I do think, obviously, you know, they should be a little bit better in terms of their wording, because of course people are going to unpick it like crazy if you do, you know, word it badly or vaguely or whatever, because again, you're leaving stuff up to interpretation, which of course can then cause further drama for you and for others as well in the future. So yeah, I mean, that is essentially all there is for this little bit. I just kind of want to keep you guys up to date with what was going on and what people were saying about the situation. If you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameStop, use my code Kaza, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.